The barn exploded in a roar of orange flame behind her, splinters of burning wood spinning through the night like shrapnel. Emily Carter hit the dirt hard, her forearms scraping against gravel as heat rolled over her back in a suffocating wave. Three figures moved through the firelight, boots crunching, rifles raised, faces hidden behind black masks. They weren't there to scare her. They were there to finish it. She scrambled backward, mud slicking her palms, heart slamming against her ribs. One of them shouted something she couldn't hear over the roar of the fire. Then, a shadow, fast, silent. It cut through the smoke like a blade, and the first man dropped without a sound. The second swung his rifle around, but he was already falling. The third turned to run. He made it 2 steps. Emily's breath caught. The figure stepped into the firelight, and her world cracked open. It was him, her brother. The one they said died 5 years ago in a desert she'd never see. Before we go any further, if you want to see how this ends, stick with me till the last word. Drop a like, leave a comment with the city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Let's go. 3 weeks earlier, Emily had been standing in the same dirt driveway, staring at a letter she couldn't afford to ignore. Notice of Land Review, Redwood County Planning Commission. The words blurred together. She read it twice, then folded it and shoved it into her jacket pocket. Didn't matter how many times she read it, the meaning stayed the same. They wanted her land. Again. Her son, Jamie, was sitting on the porch steps with a stick, dragging it through the dust. He was 8. Too young to understand what foreclosure meant, but old enough to feel it in the air. "Mom, you okay?" She forced a smile. "Yeah, bud, just paperwork." He nodded, but his eyes lingered on her face a second too long. Kids always knew. Emily walked past him into the house, letting the screen door slam behind her. The kitchen still smelled faintly of coffee from that morning. The table was cluttered with bills, medical forms, and a half-empty bottle of ibuprofen she'd been leaning on since her last double shift at Redwood General Hospital. She worked nights in the ER, 12-hour shifts, sometimes 16 when they were short-staffed, which was always. The pay wasn't enough to cover the mortgage her father left behind when he died 2 years ago, but it kept the lights on. Barely. The land had been in her family for 3 generations, 40 acres of scrub brush, a barn that needed new siding, and a farmhouse that creaked when the wind blew. It wasn't worth much to anyone except her. Except apparently it was. The harassment started 6 months ago. Small things at first, a fence cut, tires slashed, then bigger, equipment vandalized, hay bales torched in the back field. Someone let the horses out one night. She found them scattered along the road at dawn, one with a gash across its shoulder. She'd filed reports, every time. Sheriff Graves showed up, took notes, said he'd look into it. Nothing ever came of it. Last week, she'd gone to his office in person. "Sheriff, this is the 4th time in 2 months. Someone's targeting me." Graves leaned back in his chair, arms folded over his gut. He was a big man, mid-50s, with a mustache that belonged in a 70s cop show. He looked at her like she was wasting his time. "Emily, I understand you're frustrated." "Frustrated? Someone's destroying my property. We don't have evidence it's intentional. They cut my fence. They burned my hay. What more do you need?" He sighed. "Look, you're out there alone. It's a lot of land for one person. Maybe it's time to think about selling." She stared at him. "You serious right now?" "I'm saying it might be safer, for you and the boy." "Safer," she repeated flatly. "Or more convenient?" His expression didn't change. "That's all I can do for you right now." She left without another word. The drive back home took 20 minutes through winding country roads lined with oak trees and rusted barbed wire. Emily gripped the steering wheel tighter than necessary, knuckles white. Her jaw ached from clenching. Graves wasn't incompetent. He was complicit. She'd known it for weeks but kept hoping she was wrong. She wasn't. Jamie was staying with her neighbor, Mrs. Callahan, an elderly woman who lived a half-mile down the road and seemed to be the only person in Redwood County who still treated Emily like a human being. When Emily picked him up, Jamie had dirt on his knees and a popsicle stick in his hand. "He helped me weed the garden," Mrs. Callahan said, smiling. "Good boy." "Thanks for watching him." "Anytime, dear." The older woman's smile faded. "You look tired." "Just a long day." Mrs. Callahan touched her arm. "If you need anything, I know, thank you." But there was nothing anyone could do. Not really. That same night, she'd been at the hospital when things got worse. It was a Tuesday. Redwood General was a small facility, 20 beds, one trauma bay, a skeleton crew on nights. Emily was restocking the crash cart when Dr. Raymond Fallon walked past without looking at her. "Nurse Carter, we're short on IV bags in Bay 2. "Already on it," she said. He didn't acknowledge her, just kept walking. Fallon was the kind of doctor who treated nurses like furniture. Useful when he needed something, invisible the rest of the time. He'd been at Redwood General for 15 years and carried himself like he owned the place. Emily had worked there for 3. She was good at her job, fast, calm under pressure, didn't panic when things went sideways. But Fallon had never once asked her opinion, never once said thank you. She was finishing up the restock when the call came in. "Incoming trauma, ETA 3 minutes, MVA, unresponsive male, GCS 5. Motor vehicle accident, bad one." Emily moved fast. She prepped the bay, pulled the airway kit, checked the monitors. 2 other nurses hustled in. Linda, older, steady hands, and Marcus, a new grad still learning the ropes. The paramedics burst through the doors with the stretcher. The patient was mid-30s, pale, blood soaking through the collar of his shirt. His breathing was shallow, erratic. "Vitals?" Fallon snapped as he pulled on gloves. "BP 70 over 40, pulse 130, resps 8 and shallow. Get a line in him. 2 wide-bore IVs, now." Emily was already moving. She slid the tourniquet on, found the vein, dropped the catheter in clean. 1 down. Marcus fumbled with the second. "Faster," Fallon barked. Marcus's hand shook. The catheter slipped. "I got it," Emily said quietly, stepping in. She placed the second line in under 10 seconds. Fallon didn't look at her. "Fluid bolus. Start with a liter of saline, then get me blood typed and cross-matched." "Already sent," Emily said. He frowned. "When?" "Before you asked?" He didn't respond, just turned back to the patient. The monitors started screaming. The patient's pulse spiked, then dropped. "V-fib," Linda called out. "Charging to 200, Marcus said, voice tight. Fallon grabbed the paddles. "Clear." Shock delivered. The patient's body jerked. The monitor flatlined for 2 seconds, then caught rhythm again. "Still tacky," Emily said. "Rates climbing." Fallon's jaw tightened. "Push 1 of epi." Emily already had the syringe in her hand. She pushed it through the IV line, smooth, no hesitation. The rhythm stabilized, barely. "He's bleeding somewhere," Emily said. Fallon glared at her. "Stick to what you're told, Nurse Carter." She met his eyes. "He's got abdominal distension and his pressure's not responding to fluids. He needs a scan." "I'll decide what he needs." "Then decide fast, because he's going to code again." Fallon's face went red. "You don't give orders in my ER." Emily didn't flinch. "I'm not giving orders. I'm reading the patient." For a long moment, nobody moved. The trauma bay felt smaller, tighter. Linda glanced between them. Marcus stood frozen, hands still on the IV pole. Then Fallon turned to Marcus. "Get him to CT, now." 20 minutes later, the scan came back. Ruptured spleen. Massive internal bleeding. The patient went straight to surgery. He survived. Afterward, Fallon walked past Emily without a word. Linda caught her eye and gave a small nod. That was all the acknowledgement she got. Emily stripped off her gloves, tossed them in the bin, and walked to the break room. Her hands were steady, but her chest felt tight. She poured herself a cup of stale coffee and sat down at the table, staring at nothing. Linda came in a few minutes later. "You did good in there." "Doesn't matter." "It does." Emily shook her head. "Not to him." Linda sighed and sat across from her. "Fallon's an ass, everyone knows it. Then why doesn't anyone do anything about it?" "Because he brings in money. Donor connections. Board loves him." Linda's voice dropped. "And because most people here don't want to rock the boat. So we just let him treat people like garbage?" "I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying it's reality." Emily drained her coffee. It tasted like burnt rubber. "Reality sucks." "Yeah," Linda said quietly. "It does." 2 days later, Emily was called into the hospital administrator's office. Margaret Hale sat behind her desk, glasses perched on her nose, expression unreadable. She was in her early 60s, iron gray hair pulled back tight, the kind of woman who measured people in cost-benefit terms. "Miss Carter, sit." Emily sat. Hale folded her hands. Dr. Fallon filed a complaint. Emily's stomach tightened. About what? Insubordination, overstepping your role, undermining his authority in the trauma bay. I saved that patient's life. You made a suggestion, Hale corrected. Dr. Fallon made the decision. After I told him what was wrong, Hale's eyes narrowed. You're a nurse, Ms. Carter, not a physician. There's a hierarchy here for a reason. The hierarchy doesn't help if the patient dies while we're debating it. Watch your tone. Emily bit back the rest of what she wanted to say. She'd learned that lesson the hard way in the Army. Speak your mind, get written up. Same rules, different uniform. Hale leaned back. This isn't the first time you've had friction with senior staff. Because senior staff treat me like I'm invisible unless they need something. That's not relevant. It's extremely relevant. Hale's expression hardened. You're on probation. One more incident and you're done. Understood? Emily stood. Understood. She walked out before Hale could say anything else. Her badge felt heavier on the way out, like it was already trying to drag her down. In the parking lot, she sat in her truck for 10 minutes, hands on the wheel, staring at the hospital entrance. She'd served 3 tours overseas, pulled soldiers out of burning vehicles, held pressure on wounds while mortars fell, came home with a chest full of commendations nobody ever asked about, and now she was getting written up for doing her job. She started the engine and drove home. That night, she came home to find her mailbox smashed in. The post was snapped clean in half, letters scattered across the driveway. Jamie was inside, windows locked, phone in his hand. Mom, someone was here. Her blood went cold. You see them? He shook his head. Heard a car. Didn't look. She pulled him close, checked every lock, every window. Nothing else was touched. Just the mailbox. A message. She called Graves. He showed up an hour later, looked at the wreckage, wrote it down. Probably kids, he said. Kids, Emily repeated. Yeah, vandalism's up this time of year. This isn't vandalism. This is targeted. He gave her that same look. The one that said, you're being paranoid. I'll keep an eye out, he said. She didn't believe him. After he left, Emily stood in the driveway, staring at the broken mailbox. Jamie was watching from the window, small face pressed against the glass. She waved at him, tried to smile. He waved back. She bent down and started picking up the letters. Most of them were junk. A few bills. One envelope caught her attention. Plain white, no return address. She opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper with 3 words typed in the center. Sell or leave. Her hands didn't shake. They should have. But after everything she'd been through, Afghanistan, her father's death, raising a kid alone, it took more than a threatening letter to rattle her. She crumpled it up and threw it in the trash. But that night, she didn't sleep. The next day at work, things got worse. Emily was in the middle of her shift when 2 men in suits walked into the ER. One was tall, mid-40s, with slicked back hair and a briefcase. The other was shorter, stockier, with a permanent scowl. They went straight to Hale's office. 20 minutes later, Emily was called in again. Hale looked even more severe than usual. The 2 men sat on either side of her desk like bookends. Ms. Carter, this is Agent Dalton and Agent Pierce from Child Protective Services. Emily's heart dropped. What? Dalton opened his briefcase and pulled out a folder. We've received reports regarding the welfare of your son, Jamie Carter. Reports? From who? That's confidential. Like hell it is. Pierce leaned forward. Ms. Carter, we're here to ensure the child's safety. We've been informed that he's living in an unsafe environment. Unsafe? Emily's voice rose. My son is fine. Is he? Dalton slid a photograph across the desk. It showed Jamie standing in the driveway, the smashed mailbox visible in the background. This was taken 2 nights ago. Emily stared at it. Someone vandalized my property. That doesn't make it unsafe. You've had multiple incidents of vandalism, arson, property damage, Pierce said. You work long hours. You're struggling financially. The child is frequently left with neighbors. Mrs. Callahan is a trusted friend. She's 83 years old and more capable than half the people in this county. Dalton closed the folder. We're not here to debate. We're conducting a home visit tomorrow at 10 a.m. If the environment is deemed unsuitable, Jamie will be placed in temporary custody. Emily's vision tunneled. You can't do that. We can, Pierce said, and we will, if necessary. Hale cleared her throat. Ms. Carter, I suggest you cooperate fully. Emily looked at her. You knew about this. Hale didn't answer. Emily stood. Get out of my way! She walked out past the two agents, past Hale's cold stare, and out into the hallway. Her hands were shaking now, not from fear, from rage. Someone was coming after her kid, and that changed everything. She called Mrs. Callahan from the parking lot. Can you keep Jamie tonight? Of course, dear. Is everything all right? No, but it will be. She hung up and drove home. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the property. Emily walked through the house, checking every room, every closet. She grabbed her father's old rifle from the gun safe, checked the action, loaded it. Then she sat on the porch and waited. The night was quiet, too quiet. Around midnight, she heard it, an engine, far off, getting closer. She stood, rifle in hand, and moved to the edge of the porch. A truck appeared at the end of the driveway, headlights off. It stopped about 50 yards out. The engine cut. Emily's pulse kicked up, but her hand stayed steady. The driver's door opened. A man stepped out. Tall, broad shoulders, face hidden in shadow. That's close enough, Emily called out. The man stopped. Emily Carter. Who's asking? Someone who wants to help. Don't need help. You sure about that? He stepped into the moonlight. Older guy, maybe 60, with a scar running down the left side of his face. My name's Garrett Voss. I'm a lawyer. Don't need a lawyer either. You will. By tomorrow morning, CPS is going to take your son. By next week, the county's going to seize your land, and by the end of the month, you'll be gone. Emily's finger hovered near the trigger. How do you know that? Because I've seen it happen to 6 other families in this county. Same pattern, same players. He held up his hands. I'm not here to threaten you. I'm here to warn you. Why? Because someone needs to fight back, and you look like you might actually do it. Emily didn't lower the rifle. Who's behind it? Land development company called Pinnacle Holdings. They've been buying up property all over Redwood County for the last 2 years. Anyone who won't sell gets squeezed out. Squeezed how? Harassment, legal pressure, threats, whatever it takes. Voss took a step closer. They've got people on the inside, sheriff's department, county planning, CPS, even the hospital. Emily's stomach turned. The hospital? Margaret Hale sits on Pinnacle's advisory board. So does your boss, Dr. Fallon. The pieces clicked into place, the complaints, the probation, the timing. They're all working together, Emily said. Not all of them, but enough. Voss pulled a business card from his pocket and set it on the porch railing. You want to fight? Call me. You want to run? That's your choice. But either way, they're coming. He turned and walked back to his truck. Emily watched him drive away, then picked up the card. Garrett Voss, attorney at law, civil rights, land disputes. She stared at it for a long time. Then she went inside and started making calls. The next morning, Dalton and Pierce showed up at exactly 10 a.m. Emily was ready. She met them at the door, calm, composed. Come in. They walked through the house, checking rooms, taking notes. Jamie's room was clean, bed made, toys organized. The kitchen was stocked. The bathroom was spotless. Dalton opened the fridge. You keep alcohol in the house? 1 6-pack in the back. Do you drink around the child? No. Pierce checked the gun safe. This secured? Biometric lock. Only I can open it. They moved through the rest of the house, finding nothing. When they finished, Dalton closed his notebook. Everything appears to be in order. Emily didn't relax. So you're done? For now. He handed her a form. We'll need to schedule a follow-up in 2 weeks. Fine. They left. Emily stood in the doorway watching their car disappear down the driveway. She'd won. For now. But it wasn't over. That night, the barn burned. Emily woke to the smell of smoke. She bolted upright, heart hammering, and saw the orange glow through her bedroom window. She grabbed Jamie, yanked him out of bed, and ran outside. The barn was fully engulfed. Flames punched through the roof, sparks spiraling into the black sky. The heat hit her like a wall. "Stay here," she told Jamie, and ran for the hose. It was useless. The fire was too big, too fast. She stood there, helpless, watching 30 years of her family's history turn to ash. Then she heard the engines. 3 trucks. Coming up the driveway fast, no headlights. Her stomach dropped. They stopped 50 yards out. Doors opened. 3 men stepped out, dressed in black, faces covered. One of them raised a rifle. Emily shoved Jamie behind her. "Run! Now!" "Mom, go!" He ran toward the tree line, disappearing into the darkness. She didn't move. The man with the rifle stepped forward. "You should have sold when you had the chance." Emily's hands were shaking, but her voice wasn't. "Who sent you?" He didn't answer, just raised the rifle higher. Then the barn exploded. The blast threw her backward. She hit the ground hard, ears ringing, vision swimming. Heat rolled over her in waves. The men were moving toward her, and then the shadow, fast, silent, lethal. The first man dropped, rifle clattering to the dirt. The second spun, but he was already falling. The third turned to run. He made it 2 steps before he went down. Emily lay there gasping, staring up at the figure standing in the firelight. He pulled the mask off, and her entire world stopped. Dark hair, sharp jaw, eyes she hadn't seen in 5 years. "Hey, Em." Her brother. Alive. Marcus Lennox. The man they told her died in a classified op she'd never get details on. The man she buried in her mind because the grief was the only thing she had left of him. "Marcus?" He crouched beside her, scanning her for injuries. "You hurt?" She couldn't breathe. "You're dead." "Not anymore." He pulled her to her feet, steady, familiar. "We need to move. There's more coming." "More? What the hell is going on?" He looked at her, and for the first time she saw it in his eyes. Fear. "Emily, this land, it's not random. They're not trying to scare you off. They're trying to bury something, and you're standing right on top of it." In the distance, headlights appeared on the road, multiple vehicles, moving fast. Marcus grabbed her arm. "Where's Jamie?" "Tree line, east side." "Get him, we're leaving, now." Emily's mind was racing, but her training kicked in. She whistled, 2 short bursts. Jamie appeared from the trees, running hard. Marcus swept him up without a word and started moving toward the back of the property. Emily followed, her legs burning, lungs screaming. They reached the fence line. Marcus cut through it with a tool from his belt, peeled the wire back. "Through, go!" Emily climbed through, then took Jamie from Marcus. He came through last, pulling the wire back into place. Behind them, the trucks rolled into the driveway. Men poured out, shouting, spreading across the property. Marcus led them into the woods, moving fast but controlled. No wasted motion, no panic. After 20 minutes, they reached a clearing. A black SUV sat waiting, engine running. Marcus opened the back door. "Get in." Emily hesitated. I know, I'll explain, but right now, we move." She got in. Jamie climbed in beside her, eyes wide, silent. Marcus slid into the driver's seat and hit the gas. They tore through the back roads, headlights off, navigating by memory. Emily watched the trees blur past, her mind spinning. "Where are we going?" "Safe house, about 40 miles north." "Marcus, what is this? Why are you here? Why now?" He glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "Because 2 weeks ago, I got a call from an old contact. Someone flagged your name in a federal database. Pinnacle Holdings has ties to a shell corporation that's been moving weapons through this region for the last 18 months. Emily's blood went cold. "Weapons? Military grade. The kind that don't show up on manifests. They've been using rural properties as transfer points. Your land sits on a perfect corridor, remote, low traffic, close to the interstate." "And Dad's land?" "They wanted it. He wouldn't sell, so they waited him out." Emily felt sick. "You think they killed him?" Marcus's jaw tightened. "I don't know, but I'm going to find out." Jamie's voice, small and scared. "Are we safe?" Marcus met his eyes in the mirror. "Yeah, kid, you're safe, I promise." But Emily saw the lie in his face. They weren't safe. Not yet. The safe house turned out to be a hunting cabin buried in the woods outside a town called Pineville. Marcus killed the engine 100 yards out and coasted the rest of the way in silence. No lights, no noise, just the crunch of gravel under tires and the wind moving through the pines. Emily's hands were still shaking. Not from fear. She'd been scared before and knew what that felt like. This was different. This was adrenaline with nowhere to go, muscles coiled tight, waiting for the next hit. Jamie had fallen asleep against her shoulder somewhere around mile 30. She could feel his breath, warm and steady, against her neck. At least one of them could rest. Marcus parked behind the cabin, out of sight from the road. He grabbed a pack from the trunk, slung it over his shoulder, and motioned for them to follow. Inside, the cabin was bare, a couch with torn fabric, a wood stove that hadn't been used in years, a table with one chair. Marcus pulled a lantern from his pack, twisted it on, and set it in the center of the table. Pale yellow light filled the room. "We'll stay here tonight," he said. "Move at first light." Emily laid Jamie on the couch and covered him with her jacket. He didn't stir. She turned to Marcus, arms folded. "Start talking." He looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. "Sit." "I'm good standing." Talk." He set the pack down and leaned against the wall. 5 years ago, I was part of a joint task force tracking an arms trafficking network. International, big players. We spent 2 years building a case, and when we finally had enough to move, half the team got pulled. Orders came from the top. Stand down. Classified. Why? Because someone with a lot of power didn't want us digging. We ignored the order, went in anyway. His jaw tightened. 3 of us didn't make it out. I barely did. They declared us KIA, buried the whole operation, and I've been off grid ever since. Emily felt her chest tighten. "Why didn't you tell me you were alive?" "Because they were watching you, watching everyone connected to the team. If they knew I survived, they'd come after you to get to me. So you just let me think you were dead?" "Yeah." His voice cracked just slightly. "I did." She wanted to hit him, wanted to scream, but Jamie was 10 feet away and she didn't have the energy for it. "What changed?" she asked. 2 weeks ago, a contact flagged your name. Someone ran a background check on your property. Deep one. Federal databases. That only happens when something big is in motion." He straightened. "I started digging, found the connection to Pinnacle Holdings, found the weapons transfers, and I realized they were going to do to you what they did to Dad." "Which is what?" "Make you disappear." The words landed like a punch. Emily sat down. Marcus pulled a folder from his pack and tossed it on the table. She opened it. Inside were photos, documents, maps. One photo showed a warehouse in the middle of nowhere. Another showed men loading crates into trucks. A third showed Sheriff Graves shaking hands with a man in an expensive suit. "That's Richard Colfax," Marcus said, "CEO of Pinnacle Holdings. He's the one running the operation." Emily stared at the photo. Colfax looked like every other corporate predator she'd ever seen. Slicked hair, tailored suit, sharp smile. "And Graves works for him?" "Graves, the county commissioner, half the planning board, and your hospital administrator." Marcus tapped another photo. "They've been using rural properties as relay points. Weapons come in through the coast, get moved inland, distributed to buyers across 3 states. Your land sits right on one of the key routes." "Why my land specifically?" "Access. It's remote but close to the interstate. Low law enforcement presence. And it's got an old access road that connects to state forest land. Perfect for moving product without being seen." Emily's mind raced. "Dad knew." "Maybe. Or maybe he just wouldn't sell and they got tired of waiting." She looked at the photos again. "You think they killed him?" Marcus hesitated. His death was ruled natural causes. Heart attack. But he was 62, in good health, no prior history. So it's possible. "Yeah, it's possible." Emily closed the folder. Her hands weren't shaking anymore. "What's the plan?" "We gather evidence, build a case, get it to someone who can't be bought." "And who's that?" "I'm working on it." She stood. "That's not good enough. It's all I've got right now. Then we make it better." She moved to the window, looked out at the dark trees. "They burned my barn, threatened my kid. If we're doing this, we're doing it right." Marcus watched her. "You sound like a soldier." I was a soldier. That was a long time ago. Not that long. She turned to face him. You forget who pulled you out of that ditch in Kandahar when you got your leg shredded. He smiled, faint. No, I didn't forget. Good. Then don't treat me like I need protecting. I'm not. You are. She stepped closer. I get it. You've been doing this alone for 5 years, but I'm here now, and I'm not sitting on the sidelines. He studied her face, then nodded. All right, we do it together. Good. Jamie stirred on the couch, mumbling something in his sleep. Emily went to him, brushed the hair off his forehead. He settled again. When she turned back, Marcus was staring at the folder, jaw tight. What? She asked. There's something else. Of course there is. He pulled out another photo. This one showed a building, white, clinical, surrounded by chain-link fence. Pinnacle owns a medical facility about 60 miles from here. It's listed as a private research lab, but the security's military grade, cameras, guards, the whole setup. What are they researching? That's the problem. I don't know. But 2 months ago, a shipment went through your property line, unmarked crates, hazmat symbols. It ended up at that facility. Emily's stomach dropped. You think they're manufacturing something? Or storing it? Either way, it's not legal. She stared at the photo. The building looked sterile, cold, wrong. We need to get inside, she said. That's suicide. You got a better idea? Yeah, we stay alive long enough to get this evidence to the feds. And if the feds are already bought? Marcus didn't answer. Emily picked up the photo. If they're moving weapons and running illegal operations, there's a paper trail. Records, shipment logs, something. Probably kept on site, encrypted. Then we get on site. I'm not asking permission. He sighed. You always were stubborn. Runs in the family. They locked eyes. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Marcus nodded. All right, but we do it smart. Recon first. We figure out their patterns, their security, their weak points. Then we move. How long? 2 days, maybe 3. We don't have 3 days. We don't have a choice. Emily wanted to argue, but he was right. Charging in blind would get them killed. Fine, she said. 2 days. But after that, we go. Deal. She sat back down at the table, exhaustion finally catching up with her. Her body ached, her head throbbed, but her mind was clear. Marcus pulled a satellite phone from his pack. I'm going to reach out to a few contacts, see if anyone's willing to move on this. You trust them? Not really, but they owe me. He stepped outside, leaving Emily alone with Jamie and the dim lantern light. She stared at the photos spread across the table. Graves, Colfax, the warehouse, the facility, all of it connected, all of it designed to squeeze people out, take what they wanted, and bury anyone who got in the way. Her father's face flashed in her mind. The way he used to sit on the porch at sunset, coffee in hand, watching the land like it was the only thing that mattered. He'd loved that place, died for it maybe, and she wasn't going to let them take it. The next morning, Marcus woke her before dawn. Jamie was still asleep on the couch, curled up tight. We've got a problem, Marcus said. Emily sat up, instantly alert. What? My contact didn't answer. I tried 3 others. None of them picked up. Meaning? Meaning someone shut them down, or scared them off. Or killed them. Maybe. Emily stood, stretched the stiffness out of her back. So we're on our own. Looks like it. She moved to the window. Outside, the woods were gray and silent. No movement. No sound. What about Voss? She asked. The lawyer. Marcus frowned. You met him? Night before the barn burned. He said he'd been tracking Pinnacle, said he wanted to help. And you believed him? Not entirely, but he knew things, stuff that lines up with what you're telling me. Marcus thought for a moment. Lawyers talk. If he's legit, he might have files, documentation. And if he's not, then we'll know soon enough. Emily grabbed her jacket. Let's go. Now? You said we don't have time, so let's stop wasting it. Marcus glanced at Jamie, still asleep. What about him? He stays here. Doors locked, windows covered. You've got cameras outside? 3. Motion sensors. Good. He'll be fine for a few hours. Marcus hesitated, then nodded. All right, but we move fast. Move. They left Jamie with a note, a full water bottle, and a walkie-talkie clipped to his belt. Emily hated leaving him, but dragging him into Redwood Falls was worse. The drive took 40 minutes. Marcus stayed off the main roads, winding through back routes Emily hadn't seen in years. They parked 2 blocks from Voss's office and walked the rest of the way. The office was above a diner on Main Street. Narrow staircase, peeling paint, a door with frosted glass, and the name Garrett Voss, attorney, stenciled across it. Marcus knocked. No answer. He knocked again. Voss, it's Marcus Lennox. Emily Carter's with me. Still nothing. Emily tried the handle. Locked. Marcus pulled a small tool from his pocket, worked the lock for 10 seconds, and the door clicked open. Inside, the office was a mess. Papers scattered across the floor. File cabinets overturned. Desk drawers ripped out and dumped. Someone got here first, Marcus said. Emily moved through the wreckage, scanning for anything useful. Most of the documents were standard legal forms, contracts, deeds, nothing about Pinnacle. Then she saw it. A folder half hidden under the desk. She pulled it out. Inside were land records, tax documents, transfer agreements, all tied to Pinnacle Holdings. Marcus, he came over, looked at the folder. This is it. This is the proof. Where's Voss? As if in answer, Marcus's phone buzzed. He pulled it out, checked the screen, and his face went pale. What? Emily asked. He turned the phone toward her. It was a news alert. Local attorney found dead in apparent suicide. Emily's blood ran cold. When? This morning. They're saying he jumped off the Route 12 bridge. That's not suicide. No, it's not. Emily looked at the folder in her hands. They knew he had this. And now they know we're moving. A sound from outside, footsteps on the stairs. Marcus grabbed her arm. Back door. Now. They moved fast. Marcus led her through a narrow hallway to a door that opened onto a fire escape. They were halfway down when the office door burst open above them. Voices. Heavy boots. Marcus hit the alley running. Emily followed, the folder clutched tight against her chest. They reached the truck, threw themselves in, and Marcus punched the gas. Tires screamed as they tore out of the alley and onto the main road. Emily glanced back. 2 men were standing in the alley, watching them go. They saw us, she said. Yeah. They'll come after Jamie. Marcus's jaw tightened. I know. He drove faster. They reached the cabin in 30 minutes. Marcus barely stopped the truck before Emily was out, sprinting for the door. Inside, Jamie was sitting at the table, the walkie-talkie in his hand. He looked up when she came in. Mom? She pulled him into a hug, tight enough to hurt. You okay? Yeah, I'm fine. She pulled back, checked him over. No injuries, no fear in his eyes, just confusion. Marcus came in behind her, breathing hard. We need to move. Pack light. 5 minutes. Emily grabbed the essentials. Spare clothes, food, water. Marcus swept the cabin for anything that could be traced back to them. Jamie stood in the doorway watching. Are we running? Emily stopped, looked at him. Yeah, bud, we are. For how long? She didn't have an answer. Marcus did. Until we win. Jamie's eyes widened. Win what? Everything. They loaded the truck and left the cabin behind. Marcus drove north, then west, then south, doubling back, making sure they weren't followed. Emily sat in the passenger seat, the folder on her lap. She opened it again, scanned the documents. These are land transfers, she said, going back 3 years. Pinnacle bought 15 properties in Redwood County alone, most of them below market value. Forced sales, Marcus said. And the ones that didn't sell? Look at the next page. She flipped it. Her breath caught. 6 names, 6 properties, all marked deceased or relocated. Her father's name was third on the list. They've been doing this for years, she whispered, and they'll keep doing it unless we stop them. Emily's hands tightened on the folder. We're stopping them. First, we need leverage, real leverage, something they can't bury. The facility, Emily said. Marcus glanced at her. What about it? You said shipments went through my property to that lab. If they're storing something illegal, that's our leverage. We get inside, document everything, and we don't just expose Pinnacle, we dismantle them. That's a big jump from gathering evidence. We don't have time for small jumps. Marcus was quiet for a long moment, then he nodded. All right, but we do it tonight before they lock down. Agreed. Jamie leaned forward from the back seat. Are we going to be okay? Emily turned to him. Yeah, we are. Promise? She hesitated. Promises were dangerous in situations like this, but he was 8 years old and scared, and he needed something to hold on to. I promise. He nodded, sat back. Marcus caught her eye. She saw the doubt there, the fear, but she also saw determination. They drove for another hour, then stopped at a gas station on the edge of nowhere. Marcus filled the tank while Emily took Jamie inside for food. The clerk was an older woman with tired eyes and a cigarette dangling from her lips. She barely looked up as they grabbed sandwiches and bottled water. Emily paid in cash, kept her head down. As they were leaving, the woman spoke. You running from something? Emily froze. The woman exhaled smoke. Saw the way you came in, saw the way you're looking at the door. We're fine. Didn't say you weren't. She stubbed out the cigarette. But if you're heading north, stay off Route 9. State troopers been thick as flies all morning. Emily met her eyes. Why are you telling me this? The woman shrugged. I got a daughter. She ran once. Didn't make it. She turned back to her magazine. Good luck. Outside, Emily relayed the information to Marcus. He cursed under his breath. They're tightening the net, he said. Then we move faster. They got back on the road. Marcus avoided Route 9, stuck to dirt roads and forgotten highways. They reached the outskirts of the facility by late afternoon. Marcus parked the truck in a wooded area half a mile out. He pulled binoculars from his pack and scanned the building. 3 guards on rotation, cameras at every corner, main gates controlled access. Back entrance? Loading dock, probably locked, but it's our best shot. Emily studied the facility through the binoculars. It looked exactly like the photo, sterile, cold, wrong. We go in after dark, Marcus said, fast and quiet. Get what we need and get out. And if we get caught? We don't. Emily lowered the binoculars. You make it sound easy. It's not, but it's doable. She looked at Jamie, asleep in the back seat again. He stays in the truck. Agreed. Doors locked, engine running. If anything goes wrong, he drives. He's 8. He can reach the pedals. That's all that matters. Emily hated it, but Marcus was right. They waited for sunset. The sky bled orange, then red, then purple. Darkness settled over the woods like a blanket. Marcus checked his gear. Emily did the same. She'd grabbed her father's tactical vest from the cabin, old, worn, but still functional. The rifle was slung across her back. You remember how to do this? Marcus asked. Yeah, I remember. Good, because once we're in, there's no backup. I know. He looked at her, and for a moment she saw the kid brother she used to drag out of trouble. Then the moment passed, and he was a soldier again. Let's move. They left Jamie in the truck with the walkie-talkie and strict instructions. If they weren't back in 30 minutes, he drove north and didn't stop until he hit the state line. Emily kissed his forehead. We'll be back. Promise? Promise. Then she and Marcus disappeared into the dark. They moved through the woods in silence, using hand signals, staying low. The facility came into view, lights blazing, fence humming with electricity. Marcus led them to the east side, where the loading dock sat quiet and unguarded. He pulled a small device from his pack, pressed it against the keypad, and waited. 10 seconds. 20. The lock clicked. They were in. Inside the facility was everything Emily expected. White walls, fluorescent lights, the smell of antiseptic and metal. They moved through the corridors, checking doors, avoiding cameras. Most of the rooms were empty. Labs, storage, nothing useful. Then they found the vault. It was at the end of a long hallway, behind a reinforced door with a biometric scanner. Marcus cursed. We can't get through that. Emily stepped closer, studied the panel. We don't have to. Look. There was a ventilation grate above the door. Small, but not too small. Marcus looked at her. You serious? You got a better idea? He didn't. Emily pulled a multi-tool from her vest, unscrewed the grate, and pulled it free. The shaft beyond was narrow, dark. She She climbed up, squeezed inside, and started crawling. The metal was cold against her palms. She moved slowly, carefully, following the duct as it curved and dropped. After what felt like an hour but was probably 2 minutes, she reached another grate. Below she could see the vault, rows of shelves, steel cases, and in the center a table covered in documents. She pried the grate open, dropped down into the room. The landing was harder than she expected. Pain shot through her ankle, but she bit down on it and moved to the table. The documents were shipping manifests, chemical formulas, transfer logs, and photos. Photos of people, sick people, test subjects. Emily's stomach turned. This wasn't just weapons trafficking. This was human experimentation. She grabbed everything she could carry, stuffed it into her vest, and climbed back up into the duct. When she dropped back down beside Marcus, his eyes went wide. "You get it? All of it. Then we need to—" An alarm screamed to life. Red lights flooded the hallway. Marcus grabbed her arm. "Run!" They sprinted back the way they came, boots pounding against tile. Voices shouted behind them. Footsteps. Close. They burst through the loading dock door and into the night. The fence was 50 yards ahead. Gunfire cracked through the air. Bullets tore into the dirt beside them. Marcus returned fire, covering Emily as she ran. They hit the fence, scrambled over, and dropped into the woods. More gunfire. Closer now. They ran harder, lungs burning, legs screaming. Then Emily saw it. Headlights, coming from the direction of the truck. Her heart stopped. Jamie. The truck skidded to a halt in front of them. The passenger door flew open. Jamie was behind the wheel, eyes wide, terrified. "Get in!" They dove inside. Marcus took the wheel, slammed the truck into gear, and they tore through the woods, branches scraping the sides, bullets pinging off the tailgate. Emily twisted around, looked back. The facility was swarming with guards, lights sweeping the trees. But they were gone. For now. She turned to Jamie, pulled him close. "You okay?" He nodded, shaking. Marcus drove hard, putting miles between them and the facility. When they finally hit pavement, he exhaled. That was too close. Emily pulled the documents from her vest, spread them on her lap. What she saw made her blood run cold. Names, dates, locations. And at the top of every page, one signature, Richard Colfax. But beneath it, another name. One she recognized, Dr. Raymond Fallon, her boss. The man who'd dismissed her, written her up, treated her like she was nothing. He was part of it, all of it. She looked at Marcus. "We need to end this, now." He glanced at the documents. His face went pale. "Yeah, we do." Ahead, the road stretched into darkness. Behind them, headlights appeared, fast, gaining. Marcus's hands tightened on the wheel. "Hold on." The headlights behind them weren't falling back. Marcus pushed the truck harder, engine screaming as they tore down the empty highway. Emily twisted in her seat, counting vehicles. 2 SUVs, maybe 3. Armed? Assume yes. Jamie was wedged between them, small hands gripping the dashboard. His breathing was too fast, too shallow. "Eyes front, bud," Emily said, keeping her voice level. "We're okay." They weren't okay. The SUVs were closing the gap, and the highway stretched long and exposed ahead of them. No cover. No exits. Marcus glanced at the rearview mirror. "There's a turnoff 2 miles up, old logging road. If we can reach it before they get a clean shot—" Gunfire cut him off. The back window shattered, spraying glass across the seat. Jamie screamed. Emily yanked him down, covered him with her body. "Stay down!" Marcus jerked the wheel. The truck fishtailed, tires shrieking, more gunfire. A bullet punched through the tailgate, exited through the roof. "Marcus, I know!" He floored it. The truck lurched forward, engine roaring. The turnoff appeared on the right, barely visible, overgrown with weeds. Marcus didn't slow down. He yanked the wheel hard, and the truck went airborne for half a second before slamming down onto the dirt road. Emily's head cracked against the window. Stars burst across her vision. Behind them, the first SUV tried to follow. It took the turn too fast, overcorrected, and rolled. Metal screamed, glass exploded. The vehicle tumbled twice before coming to rest upside down in the ditch. The second SUV slowed but kept coming. Marcus drove deeper into the woods, branches scraping the sides of the truck, headlights bouncing wildly. The road, if you could call it that, was barely wide enough for one vehicle. Ruts and rocks threatened to tear the axle out from under them. "We can't outrun them on this," Emily said. "I know." "Then what's the plan?" "Working on it." The road curved sharply. Marcus took it too fast, and the truck skidded sideways, rear end swinging out. He corrected, but the second SUV was right behind them now, close enough that Emily could see the driver's face. Young, maybe mid-20s, cold eyes, no hesitation. He rammed them. The truck lurched forward. Emily's head snapped back. Jamie cried out. "Hold on!" Marcus shouted. He slammed the brakes. The truck skidded to a stop. The SUV didn't. It plowed into them, crumpling the tailgate, shoving them forward another 10 feet. Then Marcus threw the truck into reverse and gunned it. They slammed backward into the SUV. Metal shrieked. The impact threw Emily against the dash. Her ribs screamed. Marcus shifted into drive and punched the gas. The truck tore forward, leaving the SUV behind, steam pouring from its crumpled hood. But the engine was coughing now. Temperature gauge climbing, radiator damaged. "We're not going to make it," Emily said. Marcus's jaw was tight. "We'll make it." "Marcus, we'll make it." The road opened into a clearing. An old lumber mill sat at the far end, half collapsed, skeletal against the night sky. Marcus drove straight for it, killed the headlights, and coasted into the shadow of the main building. He shut off the engine. Silence rushed in, broken only by the ticking of cooling metal and Jamie's ragged breathing. Emily grabbed the rifle from the back, checked the magazine. 4 rounds left. Marcus had a pistol. 12 rounds. Not enough. "We need to move," Marcus said. "On foot. They'll be here in minutes." Emily looked at Jamie. His face was pale, streaked with tears. "Can you run?" He nodded. "Good. Stay close. Don't stop for anything." They climbed out of the truck. The night air was cold, sharp with the smell of pine and decay. Emily's ribs ached with every breath, but she pushed it down. Pain later. Survival now. Marcus led them into the mill. Inside, the floor was rotted through in places, moonlight slicing through holes in the roof. Rusted machinery loomed like dead giants. "Through there," Marcus whispered, pointing to a door at the back. They moved fast, stepping carefully over broken boards and twisted metal. Emily kept one hand on Jamie's shoulder, the rifle ready in the other. They reached the door. Marcus pulled it open, and they slipped through into a dead end. The room was small, windowless, no other exits. "Shit!" Marcus breathed. Emily spun, scanning for another way out. Nothing, just walls and darkness. "We're trapped," she said. "Not yet." Marcus moved to the corner, started pulling away boards. Beneath them was a trapdoor. He yanked it open, revealing a narrow shaft dropping into blackness. "What is that?" "Storm drain. Probably connects to the creek." He looked at her. "It's our only shot." Emily peered into the shaft. She couldn't see the bottom. "How deep?" "Don't know." "Great." Outside, voices, boots on gravel. Close. Marcus grabbed Jamie, lowered him into the shaft. "Climb down. Use the rungs. When you hit bottom, move downstream. We'll be right behind you." Jamie's eyes were huge. "I can't." "Yes, you can. Go." Jamie disappeared into the dark. Emily went next. The rungs were slick with moss, some of them loose. She climbed fast, ignoring the pain in her ribs, the tremor in her hands. 10 feet down. 20. 30. Her foot slipped. She caught herself, heart hammering. Above, Marcus was descending. Then the trapdoor slammed shut. Darkness swallowed them. Emily kept moving. Her boots hit water, cold, ankle deep. She could hear Jamie splashing ahead of her. "This way," she whispered. They moved through the tunnel, hunched over, hands trailing along the slimy walls. The sound of dripping water echoed around them. Emily's lungs burned. Her ribs screamed with every step. Behind them, a crash. The trapdoor opening. Flashlight beams sliced through the dark. "Move!" Marcus hissed. They ran. The tunnel curved, narrowed. Emily's shoulders scraped against concrete. Jamie stumbled. She caught him, kept him upright. The flashlight beams were getting closer. Then ahead, light, moonlight. The tunnel opened onto the creek. They burst out into the night, gasping. The creek was shallow, rocky. Emily pulled Jamie toward the far bank. Gunfire erupted behind them. Bullets ricocheted off the rocks, sending up sprays of water. They scrambled up this bank and into the woods. Trees closed around them. Emily ran blind, branches whipping her face, roots trying to trip her. Jamie was right beside her, breathing hard but keeping pace. Marcus brought up the rear, firing back at their pursuers. 2 shots. 3. Then his gun clicked empty. "Keep going!" he shouted. They ran for what felt like miles, but was probably only half that. Finally, Marcus grabbed Emily's arm, pulled her down behind a fallen log. "Stop. Listen." They froze. Silence. No footsteps. No voices. "Did we lose them?" Emily whispered. "For now." Jamie collapsed against her, shaking. She held him tight, trying to slow her own breathing. Marcus reloaded his pistol with his last magazine. "We need to keep moving. Put distance between us and them." "Where?" "North. There's a town about 10 miles up, small, off the grid. We can lay low, figure out our next move." Emily looked at the document still tucked inside her vest. Blood-stained now, crumpled, but intact. "We can't just hide," she said. "This evidence, it's enough to take them down. All of them. It's enough to get us killed. We're already marked for death. At least this way, it means something." Marcus stared at her. "You want to go public?" "I want to burn them to the ground. If we expose this, they'll come after us with everything they have. Legal, illegal, doesn't matter. They'll bury us." "Then we bury them first." He exhaled hard. "You're not thinking straight." "I'm thinking fine. They killed Dad, burned my home, tried to take my son, and they've been doing it to other people for years." She pulled out the documents, held them up. "This is the proof. Names, dates, experiments, shipments, everything." "And who do we give it to? The local cops?" "They're owned. The feds? Half of them are probably on the payroll. Then we go to the press. The press can be bought." "Not all of them." Marcus shook his head. "This is insane." "Yeah, it is, but it's also the only play we have left." He was silent for a long moment. Then he looked at Jamie, huddled against Emily, eyes wide with fear. "What about him?" Emily's chest tightened. "He comes with us. I'm not leaving him. If this goes sideways, it won't." "You can't promise that." "I know." She met his eyes. "But I can promise I'll fight like hell to make sure we all get out alive." Marcus held her gaze. Then, finally, he nodded. "All right, we go public, but we do it smart. We need someone with reach, someone who can't be silenced. You have anyone in mind?" "Maybe. There's a reporter, investigative journalist. She broke the Oakdale corruption case 2 years ago. Federal indictments, the whole thing." "You trust her?" "She's relentless, and she hates people like Colfax." "Good enough. Where is she?" "Last I heard, she was based out of Portland, about 100 miles west." Emily checked her watch. Almost midnight. "Can we make it by morning?" "If we steal a car." She almost laughed. "Of course." They started moving again, slower now, conserving energy. Jamie walked between them, silent, exhausted. Emily kept one hand on his shoulder, guiding him through the dark. An hour later, they reached a rural highway. A gas station sat on the far side, lights off, closed for the night. Behind it, a single car, a beat-up sedan, probably belonging to whoever worked there. Marcus approached it, checked the doors, locked. "Give me 2 minutes," he said. He pulled a slim tool from his pocket, worked the lock. 30 seconds later, the door popped open. "Get in." Emily climbed into the back with Jamie. Marcus hot-wired the ignition. The engine coughed to life, loud in the silence. "Let's go," Emily said. They pulled onto the highway and headed west. By the time they reached Portland, the sun was rising. The city skyline emerged from the haze, gray and industrial. Marcus navigated through early morning traffic, heading for the downtown district. The reporter's office was in a nondescript building near the waterfront. Marcus parked 2 blocks away, and they walked the rest of the distance. Inside, the lobby was empty. Marcus hit the elevator button. They rode up to the 5th floor in silence. The office was small. One room, cluttered with papers, filing cabinets, whiteboards covered in notes. A woman sat at the desk, typing furiously on a laptop. Mid-40s, sharp eyes, hair pulled back in a messy bun. She looked up as they walked in. Her gaze flicked from Marcus to Emily to Jamie, then back to Marcus. "You look like hell, Lennox." "Good to see you too, Rivera." She leaned back in her chair. "You here to get me killed?" "Hopefully not." "Comforting?" Her eyes landed on Emily. "And you are?" "Emily Carter." Rivera's expression shifted. Recognition. "Redwood County." Emily blinked. "You know about it?" "I've been tracking Pinnacle Holdings for 6 months. They're ghosts. Every time I get close, the trail goes cold." She stood. "What do you have?" Emily pulled the documents from her vest, set them on the desk. Rivera picked them up, started reading. Her face went pale. "Where did you get these?" "Their facility, 60 miles outside Redwood Falls." "You broke into a Pinnacle site?" "Yeah." Rivera let out a low whistle. "You've got a death wish." "Probably." "Can you use them?" Rivera scanned the documents again, faster this time. "This is everything. Shipment logs, financial records, test subject files. If I publish this, you'll take them down," Emily finished. "Maybe. Or I'll end up like Garrett Voss." Emily's stomach tightened. "You knew Voss?" "We worked together. He was feeding me information. Then he jumped off a bridge." She looked at Emily. "You think that was suicide?" "I know it wasn't." Rivera set the documents down. "If I run this story, Pinnacle will come after me. Hard. They're already coming after us. Might as well make it count." Rivera studied her for a long moment. Then she nodded. "All right, I'll do it. But I need 48 hours to verify sources, cross-check the data, and get legal clearance." "We don't have 48 hours." "Then you better find a safe place to hide. Because once this story breaks, every person connected to Pinnacle is going to be looking for you." Emily glanced at Marcus. He looked exhausted, running on fumes. Jamie was half asleep in a chair by the window. "We'll manage," Emily said. Rivera pulled a card from her desk, scribbled something on the back. "There's a motel on the east side. Owner's a friend. Tell him I sent you. He'll keep his mouth shut." "Thanks." "Don't thank me yet. If this blows up, we're all dead." "Then let's make sure it doesn't." They left the office and headed for the motel. It was a rundown place, paint peeling, neon sign flickering. But it was off the grid, and right now, that was all that mattered. Marcus paid cash for a room. Inside, the air smelled like cigarettes and mildew. Emily locked the door, pulled the curtain shut. Jamie collapsed on the bed, asleep within seconds. Emily sat on the floor, back against the wall. Her ribs throbbed. Her head pounded. But for the first time in days, they had a moment to breathe. Marcus sat beside her. "You think Rivera can pull it off?" "I think she'll try. And if she can't, then we go to Plan B." "We don't have a Plan B." "I know." They sat in silence for a while. Then Marcus spoke, quiet. "I'm sorry." Emily looked at him. "For what?" "For not being there. When Dad died. When you needed help. You were doing your job. Doesn't make it right." She leaned her head back against the wall. "You're here now. That's what matters." He nodded. "Yeah, I am." They sat there until exhaustion pulled them under. But Emily woke to the sound of her phone buzzing. She grabbed it, checked the screen. "Unknown number," she answered. "Hello?" "Miss Carter, this is Margaret Hale." Emily's blood went cold. "How did you get this number?" "That's not important. What's important is that you have something that doesn't belong to you." "You mean the evidence of your illegal operations?" Hale's voice was calm, measured. "You're making a mistake. Whatever you think you know, you're wrong." "Am I?" "Because the documents say otherwise." "Documents can be fabricated." "Not these. They've got your signature, Fallon's, Graves, Colfax, all of it." A pause. Then Hale spoke again, her tone colder. "You have no idea what you're dealing with. This goes beyond Pinnacle, beyond Redwood County. There are people involved who will not tolerate exposure." "Good. Let them come." "Ms. Carter, I'm offering you a way out. Return the documents. Walk away. You and your son disappear, and we forget this ever happened." "And if I don't? Then I can't guarantee your safety, or his." Emily's hand tightened around the phone. You threaten my son again, and I'll make sure every word of this conversation ends up in Rivera's article. You think Rivera will protect you? She's one story away from irrelevance. She won't risk her career for you. We'll see. Emily hung up. Marcus was awake, watching her. That didn't sound good. Hale trying to buy us off. And you said no. Of course I said no. They'll escalate. Let them. But even as she said it, doubt crept in. Hale was right about one thing. This was bigger than Pinnacle, bigger than Redwood County, and the people behind it had resources Emily couldn't match. Her phone buzzed again. This time a text. Unknown number. She opened it. A photo. Jamie's school. Empty playground. A figure standing in the shadows. The message below. We know where he goes. Emily's vision tunneled. Rage and fear collided in her chest. Marcus leaned over, saw the photo. His face went hard. We need to move. Now. Where? Somewhere they can't find us. There is nowhere they can't find us. Then we stop running and start fighting. Emily looked at Jamie, still asleep on the bed. Innocent, unaware. She couldn't let them take him. Couldn't let them win. All right, she said. We fight. Marcus nodded. I'll make some calls, see if I can pull in favors. What kind of favors? The kind that involve heavy firepower and people who owe me their lives. Emily's phone buzzed a third time. Another text, another photo. This time, it was Rivera. Standing outside her office, a red laser dot on her chest. The message, 24 hours, or she's first. Emily's hand shook. Marcus saw it, swore under his breath. They're moving faster than we thought. We need to warn her. She already knows. They want her to know. Emily stared at the photo. Rivera, unaware, 1 second away from death. She dialed Rivera's number. It rang once, twice. No answer. Damn it! Emily stood, grabbed her jacket. We're going back. That's what they want. I don't care. She's risking her life for us. I'm not letting her die alone. Marcus hesitated, then grabbed his gun. All right, but we do this smart. No heroics. Agreed. They woke Jamie, bundled him into the car, and drove back toward the waterfront. The streets were crowded now, midday traffic clogging the intersections. Emily's pulse hammered in her ears. Every car looked like a threat. Every pedestrian could be an enemy. They parked a block from Rivera's building. Marcus scanned the rooftops, the windows. Sniper could be anywhere. Then we moved fast. They entered the building through a side door, took the stairs instead of the elevator. Marcus led, gun ready. Emily followed, Jamie close behind. 5th floor. The hallway was empty. They reached Rivera's office. The door was ajar. Marcus pushed it open. Inside, Rivera was at her desk, typing. Alive. Unharmed. She looked up, startled. What are you... You need to leave. Now. Emily pulled out her phone, showed her the photo. Rivera's face went pale. They sent this to you? 20 minutes ago. Rivera stood, grabbed her laptop. I need to get this to my editor. If they kill me before I file... You're not going to die. You can't promise that. I know, but I'm trying. Rivera hesitated, then nodded. All right, let's go. They moved back into the hallway. Marcus took point, checking corners, scanning windows. They made it to the stairwell, started descending. Then the lights went out. Darkness. Complete. Don't move, Marcus whispered. Emily's hand found Jamie's shoulder. She could hear his breathing, fast and shallow. A sound. Below them. Footsteps. Coming up. Marcus raised his gun. The footsteps stopped. Silence. Then a voice, calm and cold. Emily Carter. Step into the light. Emily's blood froze. She knew that voice. Dr. Raymond Fallon. Emily didn't move. Her hand stayed on Jamie's shoulder, fingers pressed tight enough to bruise. In the dark stairwell, she could hear Fallon breathing 2 flights below. Controlled. Patient. I know you're there, Ms. Carter. I can hear the boy. Jamie's breath hitched. Emily squeezed his shoulder once. Silent command. Stay quiet. Marcus shifted beside her, gun aimed down the stairs. His voice came out flat. How many with you, Fallon? A pause. Then Fallon's voice again, closer now. Enough. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. Emily's mind raced. They were trapped. One stairwell, no windows. Fallon below, unknown forces possibly above. Rivera stood frozen behind them, laptop clutched to her chest. Marcus leaned in, whispered, I'll draw them down. You take Jamie and Rivera, go up. Roof access. That's suicide. It's a chance. No. I said no. She turned to Rivera. You have a back office, service entrance? Rivera nodded, barely visible in the dark. Second floor, maintenance corridor. Show us. They moved up, not down, quick and silent. Marcus brought up the rear, gun trained on the darkness below. Emily could hear Fallon ascending now, boots echoing. Second floor. Rivera led them through a door marked Employees Only into a narrow hallway lined with electrical panels and cleaning supplies. At the end, a metal door with a push bar. Emily hit it. The door swung open into an alley. They spilled out into daylight. Emily's eyes watered from the sudden brightness. She pulled Jamie close, scanning both ends of the alley. Clear. Move, Marcus said. They ran. Out of the alley, into the street, weaving through midday foot traffic. Emily kept one hand on Jamie, the other on the document still tucked inside her vest. Rivera stayed close, breathing hard. Behind them, shouts. Men pouring out of the building. Marcus pulled them left, into a parking garage. They ducked between cars, crouched low. Emily's ribs screamed. She bit down on the pain. Footsteps echoed through the garage. Multiple sets, spreading out. Marcus pointed to a stairwell on the far side. Emily nodded. They moved in silence, staying below window level, using the cars as cover. 20 feet, 30. A voice cut through the garage. Check every level. They're here. Emily recognized it. Not Fallon. Sheriff Graves. Her jaw tightened. She'd known Graves was dirty, but hearing his voice here, hunting her like an animal, it made it real in a way the documents hadn't. They reached the stairwell. Marcus eased the door open, checked inside. Empty. They slipped through and started climbing. Up one level, 2, 3. On the 4th level, Marcus stopped. He pressed his ear to the door, listened. Silence. He opened it. The level was half full. Normal people getting in and out of normal cars, unaware of the manhunt happening 2 floors below. Marcus led them to a minivan parked near the exit ramp. He checked the doors. Unlocked. Seriously? Emily whispered. People in the city get lazy. He climbed in, reached under the steering column. Give me 30 seconds. Rivera looked like she might throw up. We're stealing another car. You got a better idea? She didn't. The engine turned over. Marcus waved them in. Emily pushed Jamie into the back seat, climbed in after him. Rivera took the passenger seat, still clutching her laptop like a life preserver. Marcus pulled out of the spot, drove toward the exit. Calm, steady, like they weren't fleeing for their lives. At the gate, an attendant stepped out of the booth. Young kid, barely 20. Ticket? Marcus smiled. Lost it. How much for the day rate? 15. Marcus handed him a 20. Keep it. The gate lifted, they drove out onto the street. Emily didn't breathe until they were 6 blocks away. Rivera finally spoke. Where are we going? Somewhere public, Marcus said. Somewhere they can't make a move without witnesses. Like where? Like a police station. Emily's head snapped toward him. You're joking. No, we walk into a federal building with those documents and Rivera's story. We force their hand. They can't kill us in front of federal agents. They killed Voss in broad daylight. Voss was alone. We're not. Rivera leaned forward. He's right. If I file the story from a federal building, timestamp it, get it on record, Pinnacle can't stop it. Even if they kill me after, the story's out. Emily looked at Jamie. His face was pale, eyes too wide. He'd been through too much, seen too much. What if it doesn't work? She asked. Marcus met her eyes in the rearview mirror. Then at least we tried. It wasn't a good answer, but it was the only one they had. Fine, Emily said. Federal building. Let's end this. The nearest FBI field office was downtown, a concrete fortress surrounded by security barriers and cameras. Marcus parked 2 blocks away. They walked the rest of the distance, blending into the lunch crowd. Inside, the lobby was sterile and cold. A receptionist sat behind bulletproof glass, looking bored. Marcus approached. "We need to speak to someone in charge. It's urgent." The receptionist didn't look up. "Regarding?" "A federal investigation into weapons trafficking, illegal human experimentation, and political corruption." That got her attention. She looked up, eyes narrowing. "Do you have evidence?" Emily stepped forward, pulled the documents from her vest, and slapped them on the counter. "Yes." The receptionist stared at the blood-stained papers. Then she picked up a phone. "I'll get someone." They waited. Emily kept Jamie close, one hand on his shoulder. Rivera stood off to the side, typing on her laptop, uploading files. 5 minutes later, a woman in a dark suit emerged from the back. Mid-40s, sharp eyes, badge clipped to her belt. "I'm Special Agent Cara Delgado. You have information regarding a federal investigation?" Marcus nodded. "We have evidence that Pinnacle Holdings has been running an illegal operation out of Redwood County. Weapons trafficking, human experimentation. They've got people on the inside, local law enforcement, county officials, medical personnel." Delgado's expression didn't change. "And you are?" "Marcus Lennox, former Army, Special Operations." "And you?" She looked at Emily. "Emily Carter, combat medic. My family's land is being used as a relay point for their operation." Delgado's eyes flicked to the documents on the counter. "May I?" Emily nodded. Delgado picked them up, scanned them. Her face remained neutral, but Emily saw the shift in her posture, the way her jaw tightened. "Where did you get these?" "From their facility, about 60 miles outside Redwood Falls." "You broke into a secure site?" "We didn't have a choice. They killed my father, burned my home, threatened my son." Delgado looked at Jamie, then back at Emily. "You realize breaking and entering undermines the admissibility of this evidence." "I realize staying quiet gets us killed." Delgado held her gaze for a long moment. Then she turned to the receptionist. "Get me Director Moss. Now." She led them into a conference room. Bare walls, metal table, cameras in every corner. "Wait here," Delgado said, and left. Marcus sat, leaned back in his chair. "That went better than expected." "She didn't arrest us," Emily said. "That's not the same as believing us." Rivera was still typing, fingers flying across the keyboard. "I'm filing the story now, sending it to my editor, legal, and 3 backup contacts. If anything happens to us, it goes live automatically." "Smart," Marcus said. Emily paced. The walls felt like they were closing in. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to grab Jamie and disappear. But they'd run out of places to hide. The door opened. Delgado returned, followed by an older man in a suit, silver hair, lined face, eyes like a predator. "This is Director Moss," Delgado said. Moss didn't sit. He stood at the head of the table, arms folded. "Agent Delgado tells me you have evidence of criminal activity involving Pinnacle Holdings." "That's correct," Emily said. "And you obtained this evidence through illegal means." "We obtained it because legal channels failed us. Sheriff Graves is on Pinnacle's payroll. So is the county commissioner, the hospital administrator. They've been running this operation for years." Moss picked up one of the documents, read it. His expression gave nothing away. "These are serious allegations." "They're not allegations, they're facts." "Facts require corroboration." Rivera spoke up. "I have corroboration. 6 months of investigative work, financial records, witness statements. It all points to Pinnacle." Moss looked at her. "And you are?" "Jessica Rivera, investigative journalist. I broke the Oakdale case." Something shifted in Moss's face. Recognition. "I remember. Good work." "Thanks, and this is bigger than Oakdale. Pinnacle's operation spans 3 states. Weapons, drugs, human testing. If you don't move on this now, more people will die." Moss set the document down. "I'll need time to review the evidence, verify the chain of custody, coordinate with other agencies." "How much time?" Emily asked. 72 hours. "We don't have 72 hours. They're hunting us right now." "Then I suggest you stay here. We have secure holding rooms. You'll be safe." Emily's stomach twisted. "Holding rooms? You mean cells?" "I mean protection." "No." She stood. "We're not prisoners. Ms. Carter, I'm offering you a way to stay alive. By locking us up while you verify evidence? How do I know you're not on their payroll too? Moss's eyes went cold. You don't. But right now, I'm the best option you have. Marcus touched Emily's arm. Em, he's right. She pulled away. No, I didn't come this far to sit in a cell while they bury the story. They won't bury it, Rivera said. I already filed. It's out of their hands. Emily looked at her. You're sure? Positive. The story goes live in 6 hours, with or without federal approval. Moss's jaw tightened. Ms. Rivera, publishing that story before we've secured the evidence could compromise the investigation. Or it could save lives. I'll take that risk. Moss stared at her. Then he nodded once. Fine, but you stay here until the story breaks. All of you. Agreed, Marcus said, before Emily could argue. Delgado led them to a room on the 3rd floor. It wasn't a cell, but it wasn't far off. Concrete walls, one window with reinforced glass, a couch, a table, and a bathroom. Someone will bring food, Delgado said. Don't leave this room. What if we need to? Emily asked. You won't. The door closed. A lock clicked. Emily turned to Marcus. We just traded one prison for another. At least this one has a bathroom. She almost laughed. Almost. Jamie sat on the couch, staring at nothing. Emily sat beside him, pulled him close. You okay, bud? He shook his head. Yeah, me neither. Rivera sat at the table, laptop open, watching the screen like a hawk. Stories uploaded, editor confirmed receipt, legals reviewing. If everything checks out, it goes live at 1800 hours. Emily checked her watch. 4 hours. 4 hours until the world knew what Pinnacle had done. 4 hours until they either won or died trying. 3 hours passed in silence. Rivera paced. Marcus checked the window every 10 minutes. Jamie fell asleep against Emily's shoulder. Then Rivera's laptop chimed. She lunged for it, read the screen. Her face went white. What? Emily asked. My editor. He's pulling the story. What? Why? Legal says it's too risky. Potential defamation. They need more time to verify. Emily stood, fury boiling in her chest. We gave them everything. What more do they need? A smoking gun. Something that ties Pinnacle directly to a crime without plausible deniability. The documents can be explained away as fabricated. We need something irrefutable. Marcus turned from the window. Like what? Rivera's fingers flew across the keyboard. Like a recorded confession. From who? From someone on the inside. Someone who can't deny their involvement. Emily's mind raced. Then it clicked. Fallon. Rivera looked up. Your boss? He's in deep. His signature's all over the medical records. If we can get him on record admitting to the experiments, they'll have no defense, Rivera finished. Marcus shook his head. How do you plan to get Fallon to confess? Ask nicely? Emily pulled out her phone. No, I bait him. With what? With me. She dialed Fallon's number. It rang 3 times. Then his voice, smooth and cold. Miss Carter, I was wondering when you'd call. We need to talk. I agree. Where are you? Somewhere safe, for now. Not safe enough, apparently. You're running out of options. Maybe. Or maybe I have something you want. A pause. Go on. The documents, the evidence, all of it. I'll trade it for my son's safety. Fallon laughed. You think I believe you'd give up that easily? I think I'm tired of running. I think I want my life back. And you believe I can give you that? I believe you can call off the dogs. Get Colfax to back down. Let us disappear. Another pause, longer this time. What's to stop you from running the moment you're free? Nothing, but you'll have the evidence, and I'll have my son. We both get what we want. Where? Emily's heart pounded. Redwood General, tonight, midnight, just you. No Graves, no Colfax, just you and me. Why the hospital? Because it's neutral ground, and because if you try anything, there are witnesses. Fallon was silent. Then, all right, midnight, come alone. I will. She hung up. Marcus stared at her. That's insane. Probably. He'll kill you the second you walk in. Not if I'm wearing a wire. Rivera's eyes lit up. You're going to record him. Yes. Get him talking. Get him to admit what they've done. Then we have the smoking gun. And if he doesn't talk? Then I improvise. Marcus ran a hand through his hair. This is a terrible plan. You have a better one? He didn't. Emily turned to Rivera. Can you set up a wire, something small, undetectable? FBI has equipment. I'll ask Delgado. Do it. Rivera left the room. Emily sat back down, trying to slow her breathing. Her ribs ached, her head throbbed, but for the first time in days, she felt like she had control. Marcus sat beside her. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do. He killed Dad. He destroyed my life. He threatened my son. She looked at him. I'm ending this. Tonight. Marcus held her gaze, then he nodded. All right, but I'm going with you. No, not negotiable. Marcus, you walk in there alone, you die. I'm not letting that happen. Emily wanted to argue, but she was too tired, and deep down, she knew he was right. Fine, but you stay outside, out of sight. Deal. Rivera returned with Delgado. The agent carried a small black case. Rivera says you're planning something stupid, Delgado said. Pretty much. Delgado opened the case. Inside was a tiny microphone, no bigger than a button. This transmits to a receiver within 100 yards. We'll monitor from a van outside. You're helping us? I'm documenting evidence. If Fallon confesses on tape, we can move immediately. And if he doesn't? Then you better run fast. Emily took the microphone. Delgado showed her how to attach it, hidden beneath her shirt collar. Test it, Delgado said. Emily spoke. Testing. Delgado's earpiece crackled. She nodded. Clear. You're live. Emily looked at the clock. 8 p.m. 4 hours until midnight. 4 hours until she faced Fallon. 4 hours until this ended. One way or another. They left the federal building at 11. Delgado drove an unmarked van, Marcus in the passenger seat, Emily and Jamie in the back. Rivera stayed behind, watching the live feed on her laptop. The drive to Redwood Falls took 40 minutes. The town was quiet, streets empty. The hospital loomed ahead, lit up like a beacon. Delgado parked 2 blocks away. We'll monitor from here. You've got 30 minutes. Anything goes wrong, we move in. Emily nodded. She looked at Jamie, asleep in the back. Keep him safe, she said to Delgado. I will. Emily climbed out. Marcus followed. They walked toward the hospital in silence. The night air was cold, sharp. Emily's breath misted in front of her. At the entrance, Marcus stopped. I'll cover the side exits. You go in the front. Okay. He grabbed her arm. If this goes bad, it won't. If it does, then you get Jamie and run. Don't look back. He stared at her. Then he pulled her into a hug, quick and tight. Don't die. Wasn't planning on it. He let go, disappeared into the shadows. Emily took a breath, squared her shoulders, and walked through the front doors. Inside, the hospital was eerily quiet. Night shift, minimal staff. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. She walked to the ER. The waiting room was empty. The trauma bay dark. Then she saw him. Fallon stood in the center of the bay, hands in his pockets, calm as ever. Miss Carter, right on time. Emily stopped 10 feet away. Where's Colfax? He's not coming. This is between you and me. And the documents? Where are they? Emily pulled a USB drive from her pocket. Right here. Everything we took from the facility. Fallon held out his hand. Give it to me. Not until you guarantee my son's safety. You're in no position to negotiate. Neither are you. If I don't walk out of here, that drive gets uploaded to every news outlet in the country. Fallon smiled. You're bluffing. Try me. He studied her face. Then he laughed. You know what I admire about you, Ms. Carter? Your persistence. Even when you're outmatched, you keep fighting. Someone has to. True. But fighting doesn't always mean winning. He stepped closer. You think you're the hero here, the righteous crusader exposing corruption, but you're just another obstacle. and obstacles get removed. Is that what you did to my father? Fallon's smile widened. Your father was stubborn, just like you. He wouldn't sell, wouldn't leave. So we made the decision easier for him. Emily's hands clenched. You killed him. I administered a compound, untraceable, mimics cardiac arrest. He was dead within minutes. Fallon shrugged. It was clean, efficient. No one suspected. Emily's vision blurred. Rage, white hot, roared through her veins. You're a monster. I'm a businessman. There's a difference. Not to me. Fallon's smile faded. Give me the drive, Ms. Carter. Or your son is next. Emily's hand moved to her pocket. But instead of the drive, she pulled out her phone and held it up, showing the live feed, Delgado, Rivera, Marcus. All watching, all listening. Fallon's face went white. You just confessed to murder on a federal wire, Emily said. You're done. For a moment, Fallon didn't move. Then he lunged. Emily sidestepped. He crashed into a gurney, stumbled. The doors burst open. Delgado and 3 agents stormed in, guns drawn. Raymond Fallon, you're under arrest. Fallon raised his hands, face twisted with rage. You think this changes anything? Pinnacle will bury you. All of you. We'll see, Delgado said, snapping cuffs on his wrists. Emily watched as they dragged him away. Her chest heaved. Her hands shook. But it was over. Fallon was done. Marcus appeared at her side. You okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Outside, red and blue lights flooded the parking lot. More agents, more arrests. Delgado approached Emily. We've got Graves in custody. County Commissioner too. Colfax is next. What about Hale? Already picked her up. She's talking, trying to cut a deal. Emily's legs almost gave out. It's really over? Not yet, but we're close. Rivera burst through the doors, laptop in hand. Stories live, front page. Every major outlet is picking it up. Emily stared at her. It's out? It's everywhere. For the first time in weeks, Emily felt like she could breathe. Then her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered. Hello? A voice. Calm, cold, familiar. Richard Colfax. Ms. Carter, congratulations. You've won the battle. But the war, that's just beginning. The line went dead. Emily lowered the phone, blood turning to ice. Delgado saw her face. What? Colfax, he's still out there. And somewhere in the night, the engine roared to life. Delgado was already moving before Emily finished lowering the phone. She barked orders into her radio, agents scattering across the parking lot. Marcus pulled Emily toward the van where Jamie waited, but she yanked her arm free. He's running, she said. Let the feds handle it. No. Emily's voice came out harder than she intended. He doesn't get to walk away. Not after everything. Delgado jogged back to them, phone pressed to her ear. We've got units converging on Colfax's last known location. Private airfield, 15 miles north. He's leaving the country, Marcus said. Not if we move now. Delgado looked at Emily. You've done enough. Let us finish this. Emily met her eyes. He killed my father. Tried to take my son. I'm not sitting this out. Delgado hesitated, then nodded once. Fine, but you follow my lead, understood? Understood. They loaded into 2 vehicles, Delgado's van and a Bureau SUV. Jamie stayed behind with 2 agents, locked in a secure room at the hospital. Emily hated leaving him again, but dragging him into a confrontation with Colfax was worse. She kissed his forehead. I'll be back soon. He grabbed her hand. Promise? Promise. The convoy tore out of the hospital lot, sirens wailing. Emily sat in the back of the van, Marcus beside her, checking his weapon. Rivera was there too, camera in hand, documenting everything. You're really going to film this? Emily asked. This is the climax, the moment the whole thing comes together. People need to see it. Emily wanted to argue, but Rivera was right. Pinnacle had operated in shadows for years. Dragging them into the light was the only way to kill them. The airfield appeared ahead, a private strip surrounded by chain-link fence. Hangars lined one side, a single runway cutting through the center. Delgado killed the sirens as they approached, slowing to a crawl. Through the fence, Emily could see movement. A sleek jet sat on the tarmac, engines warming up. Figures moved around it, men in suits, loading cases into the cargo hold. "That's him," Delgado said, binoculars pressed to her face. "Colfax, center left." Emily leaned forward, straining to see. A man stood near the jet's stairs, phone to his ear. Even from this distance, she could see the arrogance in his posture, the certainty that he'd already won. Delgado lowered the binoculars. "We need to move before that plane takes off." "What's the play?" Marcus asked. "We cut off the runway, block his exit, force him to surrender." "And if he doesn't?" "Then we take him." The vehicles spread out, positioning at both ends of the runway. Delgado coordinated over the radio, her voice calm and precise. Emily's pulse hammered in her ears. She'd spent weeks running, hiding, barely staying ahead of the people trying to erase her. Now she was the one on the offensive. The van stopped 50 yards from the jet. Delgado and 3 agents climbed out, weapons drawn. "Richard Colfax, FBI, step away from the aircraft." Colfax turned slowly, phone still pressed to his ear. He said something Emily couldn't hear, then lowered it. Even from here, she could see him smiling. He walked toward them, hands in his pockets, casual, unworried. "Agent Delgado, this is unexpected. You're under arrest for conspiracy, racketeering, accessory to murder, and about a dozen other charges I'll read you once you're in cuffs." Colfax stopped 10 feet away. "I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding. We have evidence. Witnesses. Confessions." "From Raymond Fallon, a disgraced doctor desperate to save himself? That won't hold up." "It already is. Margaret Hale's talking. So is Sheriff Graves. The whole operation's collapsing." Colfax's smile didn't waver. "Those people are liabilities. Loose ends. Their testimony means nothing." "Then you've got nothing to worry about." "Exactly." He glanced at his watch. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a flight to catch." "You're not going anywhere." Colfax looked past her, toward the van, his eyes locked on Emily. "Miss Carter, the woman of the hour." Emily climbed out, ignoring Marcus's hiss of protest. She walked forward until she stood beside Delgado. "It's over, Colfax. You lost." He tilted his head, studying her. "Did I? Your father's still dead, your home's still ash, and in 6 months, when the appeals and motions have buried this case under legal red tape, I'll still be free." "Not this time. You have no idea how deep this goes. Pinnacle isn't just a company, it's a network. People in positions you can't touch. Even if you take me down, someone else steps up." Emily's hands clenched. "Then we'll take them down too." Colfax laughed. "You really believe that? You think you can change the system?" "I think someone has to try." "Admirable. Naive, but admirable." He turned back to Delgado. "Am I under arrest, Agent, or are we done here?" Delgado raised her weapon. "You're under arrest. Get on the ground." Colfax sighed. "I was afraid you'd say that." He snapped his fingers. The men near the jet moved, not loading cases, drawing weapons. Emily's blood turned to ice. "Down!" Delgado shouted. Gunfire erupted. Emily dove behind the van, bullets pinging off metal. Marcus pulled her further back, shielding her with his body. The agents returned fire, muzzle flashes lighting up the tarmac. Colfax ran for the jet, sprinting up the stairs. "He's getting away!" Emily shouted. Marcus grabbed his rifle. "Not if I can help it." He leaned around the van, took aim, fired. The shot hit the jet's front tire. It exploded, the aircraft lurching to one side. Colfax stumbled on the stairs, caught himself. He turned, face twisted with rage. "You think this changes anything?" Another shot. This one hit the engine cowling. Sparks flew. Colfax disappeared into the jet. Delgado was on the radio, calling for backup. The firefight intensified. 2 of Colfax's men went down. The rest scattered, taking cover behind cargo crates. "We need to end this before that jet moves," Delgado said. Marcus ejected his spent magazine, slapped in a fresh one. "I'll circle around, draw their fire." "That's suicide. It's tactical." Before anyone could stop him, Marcus sprinted across the tarmac, firing as he went. Colfax's men swung toward him, bullets chasing his heels. Emily's heart stopped. "Marcus!" He dove behind a fuel truck, rolled, came up firing. 2 more men dropped. Delgado grabbed Emily's shoulder. "Stay here." But Emily was already moving. She ran low, using the van as cover, then broke for the hangars. Her ribs screamed, her lungs burned. She didn't care. She reached the first hangar, pressed her back against the wall. Ahead, she could see the jet. The door was still open, stairs extended. Colfax was inside. Trapped. Emily pulled the rifle from her back, checked the chamber. 2 rounds left. She moved toward the jet, slow and careful. The gunfire was dying down behind her. Delgado's team was winning, but Colfax was still free. She climbed the stairs, rifle raised. Inside, the jet was all leather and polished wood. Colfax sat in a rear seat, pouring himself a drink. He looked up when she entered. "Ms. Carter, come to finish the job. Come to make sure you don't run." "Run where? You shot my plane." "Good." He took a sip, utterly calm. "You know, I almost admire you. Most people fold when the pressure gets high enough. But you just keep pushing." "Someone taught me that." "Your father?" Emily's finger tightened on the trigger. "Don't." He was a stubborn man, wouldn't listen to reason. I offered him twice what the land was worth. He refused. Because it wasn't about money. "Everything's about money, Ms. Carter. You just don't know it yet." "You're wrong." Colfax set his glass down. "Am I? You think taking me down changes anything? There are 100 other pinnacles out there. 1,000. This system was built by people like me. For people like me. You're just noise." Emily stepped closer. "Maybe, but I'm loud." Behind her, footsteps. Delgado appeared in the doorway, weapon drawn. "Step away from him, Emily." Emily didn't move. "He killed my father." "I know. And he'll pay for it, but not like this." "Why not?" "Because you're better than him." Emily's hands shook. Every instinct screamed at her to pull the trigger, to end this, to make him pay. But Delgado was right. She lowered the rifle. Colfax smiled. "See? In the end, you're all the same. Too weak to do what's necessary." Emily looked him in the eye. "No. I'm strong enough to let the system do it for me." Delgado moved in, cuffed him. "Richard Colfax, you're under arrest." As they dragged him out, Colfax looked back at Emily. "This isn't over." "Yeah," Emily said. "It is." The aftermath came in waves, relentless and public. Within 48 hours, federal agents had arrested 23 people connected to Pinnacle Holdings. The story dominated every news cycle: cable news, network broadcasts, trending hashtags. Rivera's article went viral, racking up millions of views, sparking congressional hearings and federal investigations across multiple states. Redwood County became ground zero. Reporters swarmed the hospital, the sheriff's office, the county courthouse. Satellite trucks lined Main Street. Photographers camped outside the federal building, waiting for perp walks. Emily avoided them all, staying in a safe house Delgado arranged on the outskirts of Portland. The place was small, 2 bedrooms, minimal furniture, bars on the windows. But it was secure. Jamie was with her, safe, whole. He spent his days drawing pictures, watching cartoons, occasionally asking questions Emily didn't know how to answer. "When can we go home?" "Soon, bud." "Will the bad people come back?" "No, they're gone." "You promise?" She pulled him close. "I promise." Marcus stayed too, splitting his time between the safe house and the federal building, giving depositions, filling in gaps in the evidence. He looked thinner, worn down by weeks of running and fighting. One evening, Emily found him on the porch, smoking a cigarette. He'd quit years ago. "Rough day?" she asked. "They all are." She sat beside him. "What happened?" "Lawyers, lots of lawyers. Colfax's team is trying to get the evidence thrown out, claiming illegal search and seizure." "Will it work?" "Delgado says no, but you never know." Emily stared at the street, quiet and empty. "I keep waiting for it to feel over." "Yeah, me too." "Does it ever?" Marcus took a drag, exhaled slowly. "I don't know. Maybe." They sat in silence, watching the sun set. 1 week after Colfax's arrest, Emily received a call from Delgado. "Can you come downtown? There's something you need to see." Emily arrived an hour later. Delgado led her into a conference room where a dozen agents were working, files and laptops covering every surface. Whiteboards lined the walls, covered in names, dates, connections. "We've been digging into Pinnacle's operations," Delgado said. "The scope is bigger than we thought. They had operations in 7 states, 17 properties, over 200 victims. Emily's stomach turned. Victims? Test subjects, people who disappeared, were still identifying remains. My father... We're looking, but it's going to take time. Emily nodded, throat tight. Delgado pulled out a folder. There's something else. Your land. Pinnacle claimed it through fraudulent foreclosure proceedings. We've reversed the paperwork. It's yours again. Emily stared at her. What? Your property. It's been returned to you, legally, officially, all 40 acres. For a moment, Emily couldn't breathe. Her land, the place her father died for, the place she'd almost lost. It was hers. When? She managed. As of this morning, county clerk's office has the updated deed. You're free to return whenever you want. Emily sank into a chair. Her hands were shaking again, but this time it wasn't from fear. Thank you, she whispered. Delgado's expression softened. You earned it. 2 weeks later, Emily stood in the driveway of her property, staring at the blackened remains of the barn. The frame was gone, collapsed in on itself. Ash and charred wood covered the ground, but the house was still standing. Smoke damaged, windows broken, but intact. Jamie stood beside her, small hand in hers. Can we fix it? Yeah, bud, we can fix it. Marcus walked around the perimeter, assessing damage. Foundation's solid, roof needs work, electrical's probably shot. How long? 6 months, maybe more. Emily looked at the land stretching out before her, the fields her father had worked, the tree line where she used to play as a kid, the creek running along the eastern edge. Home. Damaged. Scarred. But home. We'll start next week, she said. Over the following months, the rebuilding began. Emily hired contractors, pulled permits, worked alongside crews tearing out damaged walls and replacing burnt beams. She learned carpentry, plumbing, basic electrical work. Her hands developed calluses. Her back ached. She'd never felt better. Jamie helped where he could, handing her tools, painting walls, pulling weeds from the overgrown garden. He was different now, quieter, more careful. But he smiled more too, especially when the barn started going up. They rebuilt it bigger than before, stronger. Emily had her father's name carved into the main beam, along with the date he'd died. Marcus came by most weekends, helping with the heavy lifting. He was different too, less guarded, more present. Whatever demons he'd been running from seemed quieter now. One Saturday, they were working on the roof when he spoke. I've been thinking about staying. Emily paused, hammer in hand. In Redwood Falls? Yeah. Why? He shrugged. I'm tired of running, and this place, it feels like somewhere I could stop. What would you do? Don't know yet. Maybe security consulting? Maybe nothing. He looked at her. Would that be weird? Probably, but weird's been working for us so far. He smiled. Yeah, it has. 3 months after that, Emily walked into Redwood General Hospital wearing scrubs and a new ID badge. The place looked the same. Fluorescent lights, antiseptic smell, the hum of machines, but everything was different. Margaret Hale was gone, arrested and awaiting trial. Her replacement was a woman named Dr. Sarah Kendrick, a former ER physician who'd built her career in underfunded rural hospitals. She didn't tolerate incompetence, and she didn't play politics. Dr. Fallon's position had been filled by a younger physician named Dr. Eric Anderson, who treated nurses like colleagues, not servants. He asked questions. He listened. Emily checked in at the nurses' station. Linda was there, sorting charts. She looked up, eyes widening. Emily? Hey. Linda came around the desk, pulled her into a hug. I didn't think you'd come back. Neither did I. Why did you? Emily thought about it. About the letter she'd received from Dr. Kendrick asking her to return. About the lives she'd saved in the field, in the ER, in moments when seconds mattered. About the fact that just because people had treated her like she was invisible didn't mean the work wasn't worth doing. Because people need help, Emily said. And I'm good at helping. Linda smiled. Yeah, you are. The shift started. Emily fell into the rhythm easily, triaging patients, starting IVs, monitoring vitals. It felt familiar, comfortable. Then the trauma call came in. Incoming, ETA, 2 minutes. MVA, multiple casualties, at least one critical. Emily moved into the bay, prepped the equipment. Her hands were steady, her mind clear. The paramedics burst through the doors with the first patient, a woman in her 30s, unconscious, bleeding heavily from a head wound. Dr. Anderson appeared beside Emily. Vitals? BP 60/30, pulse 140, GCS 3. Get 2 large bore IVs, push fluids. I need a CT head stat. Emily was already moving. She placed the first line in under 5 seconds. Marcus, the new grad who'd fumbled months ago, placed the second without hesitation. The monitors screamed. The patient's pressure was dropping. She's crashing, Linda called out. Anderson grabbed the paddles. Charging to 200, clear. Shock delivered. The patient's body jerked. No response. Again, clear. Another shock. This time, the monitor caught a rhythm. Emily checked the pupils. Left pupil's blown. She's got a bleed. Anderson nodded. Get her to OR. Now. They moved fast, efficient. The patient made it to surgery. Afterward, Anderson pulled Emily aside. You saw that pupil before I did. Combat training. You learn to read fast. He crossed his arms. How would you feel about a trauma coordinator position? Training new staff? Developing protocols? Emily blinked. You serious? Dead serious. We need someone who knows what they're doing, someone who's been in the field. He met her eyes. Someone who doesn't fold under pressure. She thought about it, about the weeks she'd spent feeling invisible, about the fight she'd had to prove she belonged, and about the fact that she'd already proven it. I'll think about it, she said. Take your time, but not too long. Sick. That night, Emily sat on the rebuilt porch with Jamie, watching fireflies dance across the fields. The air was warm, heavy with the smell of fresh-cut grass and wildflowers. Mom? Yeah? I like it here. Me too. Are we staying forever? Emily looked out at the land, the barn standing tall against the darkening sky, the fields stretching toward the tree line, the creek glinting in the last light. Yeah, bud, we're staying. He leaned against her shoulder. Good. Inside, her phone buzzed. She checked it. A message from Rivera. Big news. Congressional hearing next month. They want you to testify. Emily stared at the screen. Testify. In front of Congress, on national television. Her first instinct was to say no. To stay quiet. To let the evidence speak for itself. But that's what they'd always wanted, wasn't it? For her to stay quiet. To disappear. To be invisible. She typed back. I'll do it. Rivera responded immediately. You sure? It's going to be brutal. Emily looked at Jamie, asleep against her shoulder now. At the land her father had loved. At the life she'd fought to keep. I'm sure what to... The hearing was scheduled for early October. Emily flew to Washington with Marcus and Rivera. Delgado met them at the airport, looking tired but determined. You ready for this? She asked. No, but I'm doing it anyway. The hearing room was massive, high ceilings, rows of seats, cameras everywhere. Emily sat at a long table facing a panel of senators, a microphone in front of her. Her hands were shaking. She pressed them flat against the table. The chairman, a white-haired man with sharp eyes, leaned forward. Ms. Carter, thank you for being here. We know this hasn't been easy. No, sir, it hasn't. Can you tell us, in your own words, what happened in Redwood County? Emily took a breath. Then she started talking. She told them about the harassment, the threats, the barn burning. She told them about her father's death, about Fallon's confession, about the documents she'd stolen from the facility. She told them about the families who'd been forced off their land, about the test subjects who'd disappeared, about the network of corruption that had allowed Pinnacle to operate for years. And she told them about the moment she'd almost given up, standing in the dark, watching her home burn, thinking it was over. But it wasn't over, she said, because I had a choice. I could run or I could fight, and I chose to fight. The room was silent. One of the senators, a woman with gray hair and kind eyes, spoke next. Ms. Carter, what would you say to other people in similar situations? People facing corrupt systems, feeling powerless? Emily thought about it. About Jamie, watching her from the gallery. About Marcus, who'd come back from the dead to help her. About Rivera, who'd risked everything to tell the truth. I'd say you're not powerless. You just feel that way because that's what they want. They want you scared. They want you silent. They want you to believe you don't matter. She leaned forward. But you do matter. Your voice matters. And if you fight, even when it's hard, even when it's terrifying, you can win. The chairman nodded slowly. Thank you, Ms. Carter. Your testimony has been invaluable. Thank you, sir. The hearing lasted 3 hours. Afterward, reporters swarmed Emily in the hallway. She kept her head down, let Delgado clear a path. Outside, Marcus was waiting by the car. How'd it go? I don't know. I think okay. You did great. She looked at him. How do you know? You weren't in there. Because you're here. That's enough. They drove back to the hotel. Emily collapsed on the bed, exhausted. Rivera knocked on the door an hour later. Turn on the news. Emily grabbed the remote. Every major network was covering the hearing. Her testimony was playing on loop. A powerful moment as Emily Carter, the woman at the center of the Pinnacle Holdings scandal, testified before Congress today. Her story highlighting systemic failures in law enforcement and regulatory oversight. Calls for sweeping reforms in how rural communities are protected from corporate exploitation. Rivera grinned. You're everywhere. I didn't want to be everywhere. Too late. You're the face of this. Emily stared at the screen, watching herself speak. She looked smaller than she felt. More fragile. But her voice was steady. What happens now? She asked. Now, the dominoes fall. And they did. Over the next 6 months, federal prosecutors brought charges against 47 individuals connected to Pinnacle Holdings. Richard Colfax was convicted on 12 counts, including racketeering, conspiracy to commit murder, and human trafficking. He was sentenced to 40 years without parole. Dr. Raymond Fallon pled guilty to manslaughter and illegal human experimentation. 25 years. Sheriff Graves took a plea deal, testified against Colfax, and still got 15 years. Margaret Hale received 10 years for conspiracy and obstruction of justice. The facility outside Redwood Falls was shut down. Federal investigators found the remains of 18 people buried on the property. Emily's father wasn't among them, but knowing he'd been murdered, not by chance but by design, gave her something she hadn't expected: closure. Congress passed new legislation protecting rural landowners from predatory development schemes. It was nicknamed the Carter Act. Emily didn't know how to feel about that. Rivera won a Pulitzer for her coverage. She used the prize money to start an investigative fund, focusing on stories the mainstream media ignored. Marcus opened a security consulting firm in Redwood Falls, specializing in helping small businesses and individuals protect themselves from corporate intimidation. And Emily took the trauma coordinator position at Redwood General. 6 months after the hearing, Emily stood in front of a room full of new nurses and paramedics, teaching a course on emergency trauma response. She talked about battlefield medicine, about staying calm under pressure, about reading a patient's body when the monitors failed. The students listened, rapt. At the end of the session, a young woman raised her hand. Ms. Carter, how did you learn all this? Emily smiled. By doing it, by making mistakes, and by refusing to quit when people told me I wasn't good enough. Did people really say that? All the time. How did you deal with it? Emily thought about her father, about Marcus, about Jamie, watching her with eyes that believed she could do anything. I stopped listening to them, she said, and started listening to myself. After class, she walked to her truck. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and red. She pulled out her phone, checked her messages. One from Marcus. Dinner at 7? I'm cooking. One from Rivera. New story brewing. Interested? One from Jamie. Mom, when are you home? Emily smiled, typed back responses, and climbed into the truck. As she drove home, she passed the rebuilt barn. Her father's name gleamed on the beam, freshly painted. The farmhouse came into view, lights glowing warm against the twilight. Smoke rose from the chimney. Marcus's truck was parked out front. Home. She pulled into the driveway, killed the engine. Jamie burst out the front door, waving. Mom, you're late. Sorry, bud, busy day. Did you save anyone? A few. Cool. Uncle Marcus is making spaghetti. Uncle Marcus? Jamie shrugged. He said I could call him that. Emily looked at Marcus, standing in the doorway, apron tied around his waist. He raised his hands. Kid's idea. Sure it was. Inside, the kitchen smelled like garlic and tomatoes. The table was set. Candles flickered. You went all out, Emily said. Figured we could use a real meal for once. They sat, eating in comfortable silence. Jamie talked about school, about his friends, about the science project he was working on. Marcus told a story about a client who'd tried to negotiate his rates by offering chickens. Emily just listened, letting the warmth settle over her. After dinner, Jamie went to bed. Emily and Marcus sat on the porch, beers in hand, watching the stars. You ever think about what comes next? Marcus asked. Like what? I don't know. 5 years from now. 10. Emily thought about it. I think about Jamie growing up, about this place staying in the family, about maybe teaching more, training people who actually want to learn. Sounds good. What about you? Honestly, I'm just trying to make it to next week. She laughed. Fair. They sat in silence for a while. Then Marcus spoke, quieter now. I'm glad I came back. Me too. You know, for a while there, I thought I'd never stop running, that I'd just keep moving until there was nothing left to run from. And now? Now I think maybe home's not a place. It's people. And I found mine. Emily looked at him. Yeah, you did. He met her eyes, held them. For a moment, something passed between them. Understanding, connection, the weight of everything they'd been through. Then he looked away, took a sip of his beer. Spaghetti was good, by the way. Liar. Okay, it was mediocre, but I tried, she laughed. Yeah, you did. 1 year after the hearing, Emily received an invitation. It was from the Department of Veterans Affairs. They were hosting a ceremony honoring combat medics who'd continued serving their communities after returning home. Emily almost didn't go, but Jamie begged her. Mom, they're giving you an award. You have to. It's just a ceremony. It's not just anything. So she went. The ceremony was held in a hotel ballroom in Portland. 200 people attended, veterans, officials, family members. Emily sat at a table near the back, uncomfortable in the dress she'd borrowed from Rivera. When they called her name, she stood, walked to the stage. The presenter, a retired general, shook her hand. Emily Carter served 3 tours as a combat medic. She saved countless lives under fire. And when she returned home, she didn't stop serving. She fought for her community. She exposed corruption. She stood up when others stayed silent. He handed her a plaque. For outstanding service and unwavering courage, we honor you today. The room erupted in applause. Emily stood there holding the plaque, not sure what to say. So she told the truth. I'm not a hero. I'm just someone who refused to quit. And if that's worth honoring, then honor every person who wakes up every day and fights for something better. Honor the nurses working double shifts, the teachers buying supplies out of pocket, the parents working 2 jobs to keep their kids fed. Those are the real heroes. I'm just someone who got loud enough to be heard. The applause was even louder this time. Afterward, people came up to her, veterans, active duty, civilians. They shook her hand, thanked her, told her their stories. One woman, older with tears in her eyes, grabbed Emily's arm. My son was in Fallujah. He didn't make it home. But hearing your story, knowing people like you exist, it helps. Emily didn't know what to say, so she just hugged her. On the drive home, Jamie fell asleep in the back seat. Marcus drove, quiet, thoughtful. You okay? He asked. Emily stared out the window. I don't know. I keep thinking about all the people who didn't make it, who didn't get to fight back. You can't save everyone. I know, but I wish I could. That's what makes you who you are. She looked at him. What's that supposed to mean? It means you give a damn, and that's rare. They drove the rest of the way in silence. When they got home, Emily carried Jamie inside, tucked him into bed. She stood in the doorway for a moment, watching him sleep. Then she walked outside into the cool night air. The land stretched out before her, dark and vast. She could hear the creak in the distance, the rustle of wind through the trees. She thought about her father, about the life he'd built here, about the fact that she'd almost lost it all. But she hadn't. She'd fought. She'd survived. She'd won. And now, standing here in the quiet, she understood something she hadn't before. Strength wasn't about never falling, it was about getting back up. Every single time. It was about looking at the people who said you didn't matter and proving them wrong. Not with words, with action, with persistence, with the quiet, relentless refusal to disappear. Emily closed her eyes, breathed deep. Somewhere in the dark, an owl called. The wind carried the scent of pine and earth. And for the first time in her life, Emily felt exactly where she belonged. Home. Not because it was easy, not because it was safe, but because it was hers. And no one, no corporation, no corrupt official, no system designed to crush people like her could take that away. Not anymore. She opened her eyes, looked up at the stars. "I kept my promise, Dad," she whispered. "I didn't let them win." The wind answered, soft and steady. And Emily Carter, combat medic, single mother, and the woman who'd brought down an empire, turned and walked back inside, ready for whatever came next. Because she'd learned the most important lesson of all. You don't have to be perfect to matter. You don't have to be fearless to fight. You just have to refuse to stay down. And that was something she'd never stop doing. The end.